Absolute obedience. Lelouch was an exiled prince of the Holy Britannian Empire who sought to destroy the empire and create a better world for his sister. Everything changed when he met Cece, a mysterious girl who granted him a supernatural power known as Geass. Lelouch's Geass is called the power of absolute obedience. It allows him to issue a single command to anyone who makes direct eye contact with him, and that person is forced to obey without question, no matter what the order is. At first, the ability seemed simple. Lelouch could control people to gain information, escape danger, or manipulate situations in his favor, but the power had strict limitations. It could only be used once per person, and it required eye contact to activate. The command also had to be spoken clearly, and once given, it could not be undone. As Lelouch continued using his Geass, it began to evolve. The more he relied on it, the less control he had over when it activated. Eventually, it became permanently active in his eye, meaning anyone who looked directly at him could be affected unintentionally. This loss of control led to one of the most tragic moments in the series. While joking, Lelouch accidentally commanded Euphemia to kill all Japanese people. Because of the Geass, she was forced to carry out the order, resulting in a massacre that changed the course of the story. His Geass helped him build his identity as Zero and lead a rebellion, but it also isolated him from others and caused irreversible damage. In the end, Lelouch used his power as part of the Zero Requiem plan, sacrificing himself to create a peaceful world. Mind reading. Mao was a former contractor of CC, and his Geass is one of the most dangerous, but also one of the most tragic in the series. His ability allowed him to read people's minds. With his Geass, Mao could hear the thoughts of anyone around him. He didn't need eye contact or commands. As long as someone was within range, their thoughts were completely exposed to him. This made him incredibly powerful in manipulation, because he always knew what others were thinking before they acted. At first, this might seem like an unbeatable ability. But Mao's Geass had a major flaw. He couldn't turn it off. As his power evolved, it became permanently active, constantly flooding his mind with the thoughts of everyone nearby. He couldn't block it out and couldn't focus. This is what drove him insane. Because he could hear even the smallest negative thoughts, Mao became paranoid and unstable. He lost the ability to trust anyone since he always knew their hidden feelings. His only emotional anchor was Cece, the one person whose thoughts he couldn't read. She became his obsession because she was the only quiet in his world. Mao used his Geass to psychologically torture others, especially Lelouch, exposing secrets and manipulating situations with perfect knowledge of what people were thinking. But despite how powerful he was, his lack of control made him unstable and predictable. Love. Originally, Cece did possess a Geass. Her power allowed her to make anyone love her unconditionally. Anyone affected by it would become completely devoted to her, unable to resist their feelings. It wasn't genuine love, it was forced, artificial, and absolute, similar to how Lelouch forces obedience. At first, this seemed like a blessing. She was no longer alone, constantly surrounded by people who adored her. But over time, it became a curse. None of those feelings were real. No one truly chose to love her. It was all the result of her Geass. She couldn't form genuine connections because she always knew their emotions were being controlled. Her power eventually evolved. But instead of just growing stronger, it reached its final stage, turning into what's known as a code. When this happened, Cece lost her Geass entirely, gained immortality, and became immune to Geass. With the code, she stopped aging, could regenerate from any injury, and became impossible to kill by normal means. Even fatal wounds wouldn't end her life. She would simply heal and continue living. However, this immortality came at a heavy cost. She lost the ability to die naturally, trapping her in an endless existence. Memory rewriting. Charles Z. Britannia, the Emperor of the Holy Britannian Empire, possessed a Geass very different from Lelouch's. While Lelouch controlled actions, Charles controlled the mind itself. His Geass was the power to rewrite memories. With direct eye contact, Charles could alter, erase, or completely rewrite a person's memories. He changed what they believed was real, manipulating someone's entire identity and making them forget people, events, or their own past. The new memories felt completely natural. One key example was what he did to his son Lelouch and daughter Nunnally. Charles used his Geass to erase Lelouch's memories of the royal family and alter Nunnally's memories of her mother's assassination and psychologically induce blindness. Lelouch believed he was an ordinary student, unaware of his true identity as a prince. Unlike Lelouch's Geass, which worked once per person, Charles could use his power repeatedly on the same person, continuously reshaping their memories. This made him incredibly dangerous. He used this ability to support his larger goal with his wife, the Ragnarok connection. Their plan was to eliminate lies and individuality by merging all human consciousness into a single collective mind, where everyone would share the same thoughts and memories. Time stop. Rollo, introduced as Lelouch's younger brother, was actually an assassin working for the Britannian Empire. His Geass allowed him to freeze the perception of time for everyone around him. When activated, people within a certain radius became completely immobilized, unable to see, hear, or react. To them, it felt like time had skipped forward instantly. In reality, only Rollo could move freely during that frozen moment. This made him extremely deadly in combat. He could walk past guards, avoid attacks, or kill targets before they realized what happened. However, his Geass came with a severe cost. Every use put intense strain on his heart. The longer he kept it active, the greater the damage. Another limitation was that it affected everyone in range indiscriminately, including allies. Despite being raised as a tool, Rollo developed a genuine emotional attachment to Lelouch. He overused his Geass to save Lelouch and died in his arms, finally experiencing real human connection. Geass Canceller. Jeremiah Gottwald ended up possessing one of the most unique anti-Geass abilities in the entire series, the ability to cancel Geass itself. After being heavily modified by the Geass Directorate, Jeremiah gained the power to nullify any Geass effect. When activated through his cybernetic eye, his Geass Canceller could completely erase the influence of another person's Geass from a target. This meant that if someone had been controlled, manipulated, or altered by Geass, Jeremiah could restore them to their original state. Memories that were rewritten could come back. Commands that were forced onto someone would disappear instantly. It essentially reset the person, undoing the supernatural interference. This made him a direct counter to users like Lelouch. Despite being incredibly powerful in the right situation, it wasn't universally useful in combat unless Geass was involved. Soul Transfer. Marianne v. Britannia possessed one of the most unique and unsettling Geass abilities. Her Geass allowed her to transfer her consciousness into another person's body. At the moment of her death, Marianne activated her Geass and moved her mind into the body of Anya Allstream, a Knight of the Round. From the outside, Anya appeared normal, but Marianne's consciousness lay dormant inside, occasionally surfacing to influence her actions. This let Marianne cheat death. Her original body was gone, yet her mind lived on within another. The two consciousnesses coexisted, with Marianne able to take control at times. This caused Anya's memory gaps and strange lapses. Unlike other Geass, it didn't rely on eye contact. It acted as a survival mechanism tied to her will and timing, making it highly deceptive. No one suspected she was still alive. She used this power to secretly assist her husband with the Ragnarok connection, influencing events from the shadows while hidden inside Anya. Future Sight. Bismarck Waldstein, known as the Knight of One, possessed a Geass that allowed him to see into the immediate future. He could perceive what was about to happen moments before it did. This was a clear, precise glimpse of incoming actions. In battle, this made him almost untouchable. Any attack could be anticipated and countered before it fully happened. No matter how fast or skilled the opponent, Bismarck had already seen their move. This gave him a massive advantage in Nightmare Frame combat. However, his Geass had limits. He could only see a short distance into the future. It didn't let him change fate on a large scale, only react perfectly in the moment. It required activation through his eye. During his battle with Suzaku, Bismarck's Future Sight helped him keep up with overwhelming speed. Yet he was ultimately defeated by abilities that surpassed even what he could predict.